Hello and welcome to our Friday webinar. We are on with Lisa Bono. Welcome, Lisa.
Hi.
Hi. We were behind the scenes making sure that the screen share was working. So thank you for your patience. People have logged in already. Well, welcome. Let's see. This is our first one of 2026 with you. Is
With
that
me,
right?
yes.
All right. Well, welcome to the new year. Today we're going to go behind the scenes of bird shows. So um, this will be if you've never gone to a bird show, you'll learn all about them today. And when you're logging in, let us know where you're coming from. Weather reports are always great to hear where everyone's dealing with here. And let's see if we have any questions, we'll use them at the end. For the questions, please use the Q&A button and not the chat feature. But for chat feature, let us know where you're logging in right now. And how's it going, Lisa? Do you think our
I'm still playing with the new buttons. Again, Zoom changes everything. Um,
okay. Okay.
so I was just trying to get rid of all three of us in the background off the screen. I don't know if you
Yeah.
guys are going to be able to see that. So,
Zoom just likes to change things up a lot. So you just have to, yeah, I feel you. Um, there we go. Okay. Well, we do got a good audience here of people want to learn about bird shows. So, um, how about, are we good to go,
I
you
think,
think?
yeah,
Okay,
I think so. I mean, I'll give it a shot.
great. And just real quick, I was just gonna say if you've ever been to a bird show, just kind of put that in the chat too, just so we could see if we're people have been doing that. Okay, all right, Lisa, let's cross fingers. Let's hope, or I think it's gonna work. So let you take it
All right.
away.
And again, thank you everybody for your patience. Every time you get in here, Zoom changes something else. So we have to figure out how to do things behind the scene really quick. And it doesn't always work smoothly. So here we go. We're going to try. All right. Can everybody see that?
Yay! Yes.
Okay. Um, Now I can no longer see myself or any of the chat or anything else on Zoom. I can only see my presentation. So um, that's it. So if you have questions, I can't see anything or comments. So they'll have to send it to me afterwards. All right. So I had the pleasure of going to the National Bird Show in Knoxville, Tennessee to represent Lafeber's. And I got my beginning with bird shows going to each year with actually a Long Island Parrot Society that was always held on the first weekend in October, which happens to always be my birthday. So that's what I would ask to go to. And at the Long Island Parrot Society, I kind of got to learn the different things that judges are looking for. And it was, besides the presentations to go learn, it was just as exciting for me to go in and try to fit or figure out the best in show. Of course, at that time I had 17 cockatiels. They were my little hearts, and they still are. But yeah, I would go in there and try to figure out which cockatiel was going to take, the best in show. And it was funny because everybody else always wanted to leave, and I wanted to stay to the end to figure it out. So when Lafeber's asked me to go, my first thought is, I wonder if I still have it. So I was extremely excited to go in and see this on a national level because I've only been to tiny little shows in the past that were, like me, just owners showing their birds and them picking the favorites and the best, for breeding. So, just like the dog shows, okay, and the breeding and the papers and all this, they have the same things with birds. We don't realize that when we go to pet stores. Some people know when they go to their breeders. Also, people would pre-order birds at this event, and people would come in and they would gather and they would pick up their birds at the show. So this is kind of what happens when I go in and I represent Lafeber's, what I'm doing, what's going on, and the people I get to meet, and what this type of show is about. So here we go. So Lafeber's didn't exactly tell anybody where I was going, so it was kind of like a guess. And I figured I would take some pictures along the way. So that was put up on Lafeber's just to see if anybody could figure out where I was going. Those are my companions along the way. I'd order some little parrots to come and spruce up the little table with us. And I always travel with my flamingos in there. And this is when I finally got to where I was going. You got to carry everything in. And the first show, and I would say the prior show to that, because that was my first, I had help doing this. So I had to figure out how I was going to do all this kind of stuff, carrying in stuff on my own. We did okay, except for I went in the wrong entrance and I had to go down staircases with all this stuff to get to where I was going. So that's when I first arrived. And I have to tell you that I am a country bumpkin, and that's not a bad thing. I'm proud of where I came from. I was raised in a log cabin on a dirt road. So to go and do something like this, I felt like I was like in a big time city, and I wouldn't have this opportunity any other way unless I was doing this for somebody else. So it was great. So this was my room. This was my view. I was so excited. I'm like, ooh, look, city view. This is big. Don't get me wrong. I've been to Philadelphia, only to an animal hospital. I've been to New York City, again, only, and I lived right outside New York City, only to go to the veterinarian. So that's when I first got there. That was the day I had to set up. And what we kind of do is, I'll set up the table. I'll make sure it looks pretty. And I'm kind of like OCD. Again, not a bad thing. Everything's got to be perfect. And, I'm always rearranging things. Anybody who knows me, any of my clients can tell you that I don't like things touching the floor. If anything I ever ordered in the past fell out of a box, or if I was picking up and it hit the floor, it got tossed. So we had some paper. Those are the little goodie bags Lafeber sends me with, and we fill it up with little samples. And when people come over and tell me that, they've seen the webinars, or they've, or they use the food, and we give them a little goodie bag with some samples in it. And we also have some other goodies for the kids. So we put on little stickers. We had some cute little headbands. I have a cute story for that, and pins. And so people would come over, and it's also another good conversation piece. Besides that, when they're talking, I can hand them things. And so we get the table looking all pretty. And I could tell you, even the bottom of that, there was a fan that was blowing on it, so it looked like it was rippling. It was a really cool effect. So that was our booth, and it takes a while to get everything unpacked, put there, and then finished it up just in time to cover it up for the next day. But at least we're good to go. So this is what I walked into the next morning. Now, every single box you see there, and this is only, I would say, half of the room. Every single box has a bird in it. There were hundreds, if not, over 1,000 birds there. I can't tell you the exact amount because, I couldn't go around and count everything. But you can see in the very back, up here, if you can see my pointer, top right, those are stacked. They're even going up higher. So a lot of those were canaries. You had a tremendous amount of canaries. You had a lot of softbills. I didn't even know what they were. A lot of cockatiels, a lot of lovebirds, finches, everything you can imagine. And you can see a little cockatoo right here. So this is like really half of the room. People were still setting up. All those empty spots you see were filled. Now, the birds were turned sideways in their cages like that to kind of keep them calm, because you have people like me walking around, looking at them, taking pictures. And part of this whole show is to keep the birds calm, and they're also being judged on their temperament. So you don't want somebody like me who doesn't know better, to go in there and do something wrong and upset the bird and then ruin the person's chance of winning. There were people that came from all over the world for this. So this is my friend Christian, and I'm going to show you some of the things that were up there. This is the top level, some of the things that are there for sale. It always varies from show to show, just depending on how many people want to come in and show their wares and what they're selling. Now, Christian's actually out, I think, California. I met him at Raleigh at the first show I did for Lafeber's. He recognized me. So we kind of hung around for the weekend because this was his first event for the National Bird Show, and it was mine. So, we had dinner and we, went to the banquet together. So, he actually creates custom cages for zoos and for people. And he also has a bird transport business, which I found pretty interesting because he has people that have, been vetted and background checks, and they will actually transport your bird and do all the paperwork around the world. So I thought that was really cool. I didn't even know anything like that existed. So these are some of the toys that were there. Again, this is upstairs. There were not a lot of vendors there. I knew they did come in from different states. I believe we had Wisconsin, we had Illinois, and this was in Tennessee. So people did travel for this, but that's some of the toys that were there. This was, because it's more like a hookbill and a softbill show, they had a lot of stuff geared towards canaries and finches. So there was no sign here, but I'm gathering this was some type of egg food guy that was setting up. Because I was there by myself, I had very limited time to go around and actually take pictures. So I had to do it as people were setting up, or at the end of the day as people were going. I did have a little help at one point, and that's how I was easily able to get the pictures for the webinar today. These are some more vendors that are just a different view. They did have some birds for sale. I think these people might have came in from Wisconsin. And I joked around with my boss that I needed a raise because they brought in an African gray there for sale. But I was reminded that my husband probably wouldn't let me go out and play anymore with Lafeber's if I came home with another bird. So while I would have loved to, hopefully he found a good home. He was not out at this point. There, as you could see from the carrier, he was still putting birds out. There were some trees there. And different types of things. I'm not sure what else she was selling. There was a couple babies, but I think it was more like perches and trees and such. And then this was her companion for the show. So this is a pied crow, and they're pretty cool. I didn't get too close. I zoomed in on him because I just, I love the crows that are here in my backyard. I've never seen a pied in person. I tried to talk to him because I know they can be pretty vocal, and he was really not interested in talking with me, but he was a very nice poser. So this was the first day that I was there, went in, and to the left, is me. I'm trying to match the Lafeber bags. And then to the right, we have Lisa, and she is on my gray page. So she knew I was going to be there. So her and her husband came out to see me and meet me. And that's why I got a big smile on, because I love seeing people that I know or have not met yet, but have known for quite a while online. It's great to know that people travel to come and we hang out and chat. So this was a candid shot. I had no idea it was even taken, but this is what we do. So when people come over, I'll stand there and I'll chat with them. We'll talk about products and what they've tried, what's new, what species they have, what they might want to try. And then Lafeber's is wonderful at the end with making sure that people go home with stuff. So the bags that are on the table, what I'll do is, to keep the display pretty, I will put people's names on the back of the bag. And then at the end of the show, they can come over and we give them the bag to go home with. This way, I don't have to carry everything home. We've donated to some rescues that were there, in there and such. So, but they come over and they chat. And luckily, behind the other table there, that's my friend E. Again, somebody I didn't know until I've dealt with her for probably 15 years, but didn't know until the AFA conference, who she was in person. And I had to thank her because she was the reason I was able to go get pictures. If I had to go use the restroom or if I had to run and go take pictures, for this webinar, she was kind enough to watch my table, and I reciprocated when she had to do the same. We helped each other out, and that's a great deal when you're there by yourself and you're there standing for 9 hours. So this was some of the birds for sale. So they had a bird sale table. This is the same exact picture, just one gave like a better view. There wasn't a lot, but you could see all the canaries that are there. Probably, again, because this was geared toward this type of species. A little bit of close-ups. These I really had to take pictures and either send them to friends who were, maybe they love finches and I didn't know what this was, or, they love the Borks and I've never seen a yellow one, whatever mutation that is. I do have to say those cockatiels all the way up to the left, those cockatiels were the biggest cockatiels I've ever seen in my life. And I had to stop and look at them. And I actually went around and asked some people just to make sure. It's been, I believe my last cockatiel passed away in 2007. I had to go ask people if it was my imagination or if these things are getting bigger, because I swear those cockatiels were almost the size of my Timna African gray. And I'm thinking, ooh, I need to take one of those home. And again, good thing I didn't. But they were huge. And then down in the right-hand corner, you had two different cockatiels. Again, I'm gearing towards cockatiels because that was my excitement. You had a white face there. Those two were for sale. So I'm going to get into kind of cockatiel genetics a little bit to kind of explain. We think that people go in and just show their birds and that's it. There's so much more behind what gets these people there. Okay, so these two cockatiels were for sale. Of course, I love the white face. I love the normal grays. I mean, someday I will have another one. But the white face, she wasn't sure if she was going to keep or not. And then you had this male cockatiel right here. Looks like a normal gray. However, he was split to emerald, which means the bird carried a recessive emerald or olive gene that does not visually display on the reduced melanin. Greenish gray plumage appears as a normal gray or another mutation instead. Because the emerald is a recessive mutation, both parents must carry the gene to produce an emerald offspring. So when she was telling me emerald, I'm thinking, well, I have never heard of that. And that's what an emerald one looks like. So you can see the greenish color to its feathers. So that's something new that I learned there. Never seen it. And in my bird club days, we used to have a gentleman that would come in, and he was usually crabby with most of the people that were there. And I was so interested in cockatiel genetics. This was before the internet was around, where we actually had to really learn and do research. He was a breeder, so he would come in each week and he would teach me a little lesson, whether, cockatiel genetics, the mother, father, this, the pearl, the pied, and, normal gray, and what's the baby's going to be. So we did this every month. And then the following month, he would come in and he would ask me questions. And if I got the answers correct, he was so happy and very pleasant with everybody. If I did not get them correct, nobody was happy with me. So that's why I really had to learn. And then the internet comes out and then you could just look it up. But emerald, as far as I know, was not around. We were still working on cinnamon. That's how long ago it was. And that's 20, 30 years. So I was able to run over and, of course, find the cockatiel division. And I took a picture real quick because I wanted to see these. A lot of the birds were already moved because by the time I got there, some of them were taken off the table already. So these were going to be the top birds going into the division. Okay. So I had my eye on this little guy right here, the fourth one from the left in the blue container. Believe it or not, all those blues are the same. It's the way the light is hitting it, and we'll get into that later. But I had my eye on this gray, the gray cockatiel male right there. And as I'm standing there, I'm looking at it, and somebody comes over to me and he sees me take a picture. And he said, "You like that one?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "I think this one's going to take first in the division." And he said, "Yeah, it's a real pretty bird." And I'm like, "Yeah, it is." And so I'm like, "All right, I got to get back to my table." So I thought I was talking to one of the judges because the person was just standing around. Okay. I'm thinking, how do I remember who it is? So I took this close up picture, and this is when the gentleman asked me what I was doing. So I'm like, all right, at least I can remember those numbers and find him sometime over the next 2 days. So that's little gray there. So I wanted to show you here with the pictures what the judges are looking for. Now you can see he's leaning into that one cage there. And you really want your cockatiel, when, or any bird, to just kind of sit there and pose. And you can see down at the other end where the judge is not, you can see the birds are relaxed. They're sitting straight up, they're calm. And then you can see as the ones that are getting down here, they're getting a little bit more anxious. Then the last one's actually leaning into the judge. So they're kind of looking at the temperament on top of everything else. The people that own the birds, they just kind of walk around behind the scenes there. And while there's a judge there in that picture, it was probably lovebirds or canaries that they were dealing with there. But those are the owners that come in. I'm sure there was probably a couple people that were just watching, but it's a big thing. So what they're looking for to explain who wins what. Okay. The judges at shows are looking for, we're going to do cocktails again because I understand the genetics. I've forgotten more than I remember, but this brings it all back for me. So the judges at the shows are looking for cockatiels that closely matches the standard of perfection. All of our guys are perfect, no matter what they look like. Okay. But this, again, like I guess it's the American Kennel Association or something, just like their shows, they're doing the same here. So, and that is defined by the organizations like the American Cockatiel Society and National Cockatiel Society. And I was actually part of both of them at one point. So they're looking at the crest, the brow, the beak, the bib, the front line, the wing patch, the legs, the feet, the eye, the back skull, the cheek patch, shoulder, back line, flight, feathers, and tail. All these things have to lay in a certain way, okay, to get their points. So scoring points here. So they're going to look at the size and length of the bird. The ideal bird should be 14 inches from the top of the crown to the tail. The proportion should show equal proportions with the length from the top of the crown to the vent. The shoulder should be the tip of the wing, and the vent to the tip of the tail balances, ideally 7 inches wing, 7 inches body. So I kind of, when I'm in lectures and stuff, I take a lot of pictures. I like to put a lot of this stuff up. So if somebody wants to take a picture of it, they can have it right in front of them to look at it. If they have their cockatiels and they want to go home, go to the cage later and check out and see, they have this right in front of them. And of course you can rewind it as well, rewatch it again on the YouTube page. So the body substance is well-rounded, deep, broad chest is required, indicating strong muscular development. Head and crest, the head must be large and well-rounded with no flat spots on top. The crest should be a goal of 3 inches, dense, curved, and gracefully forward towards the top of the cere. The eyes and beak should be large, bright, and alert, set midway in the skull. The beak must be clean, normal length, and tucked in with the lower mandible partially visible. Okay, so I guess a lot of people don't realize this is what they're looking for. The neck and back. The neck should be long enough to give a graceful outline, avoiding the bull neck. The back should be wide and straight without humps or sways. And back to this, if you're scoring on here, you can gain up to 60 points, okay? Feather condition and quality is extremely important. For this, your score could be 15 points. So the tightness, the feathers should be tight to the body, clean, well groomed. A top conditioned bird will have a water roll off its feathers. Like when we see our guys take baths, the dust and the dander, especially the dusty species, it rolls off their back. Complete no pin feathers, no half-grown feathers, no missing tail feathers or flight feathers, frayed or damaged feathers that are heavily faulted. Now imagine traveling around the world with these birds, hoping they don't lose a flight feather, don't lose a tail feather, or they don't decide that they're going to chew on a tail feather, because that's going to take points right away. The cleanliness, the vent area must be clean. The beaks and legs should show no unnatural scaling or rough, scaly, or overgrown claws. That's pretty much for all of us, not just competition. Color and markings can get you 10 points, okay? Now, this is one of the top contenders that was at the show. That's a gorgeous bird. Look at the crest. It's 3 inches. It's got the wave. The body is at a certain degree, and we'll talk about that, I think, in the next slide. Look at the little toenails. I do believe this might be a baby because of the feet. And it's hard to see the tail on it. A lot of people don't really even know whether they have a male or a female. So your males are going to have the bright yellow face with some of the mutations, such as this pearl, and this might even be a cinnamon pearl. The yellow is going to be more faded, okay? But the females are going to be more gray or very pale yellow. Babies are going to be the same way. So around, with the first molt, what happens with these pearls, they will actually molt. And if it's a male, they lose this pretty scalloping on it, and they will go to solid feathers, okay? Telling a male from a female again, besides the bright yellow face, underneath the wings, if they lift their wings up, underneath, a male is going to be solid. Underneath the tail, the male is going to be solid, one color. It could be an all yellow feather, all gray feather, okay? The girls, besides the paler faces, when they lift their wings, there's going to be very faint spots, even on the yellow ones. You got to really look. But there's going to be spots. The gray feathers will have brighter spots, and a tail are going to have bars on it. So you're going to have like these black grayish bars going through the tail. So that's how people, and it's important to know whether you have a male or female, because, these guys do tend to lay a lot of eggs with or without partners. So yeah, you should know whether you have a male or female. So the uniformity, the color must be consistent across the body, no bleeding, and no improper color intrusion. That's what they mean by the bleeding, not physical blood. Particularly in mutations like Lutino or Pieds, cheek patches should be round, well-defined, and intensely colored, especially in the males. The mask, a bright, clear yellow head is preferred for adult males, with a sharp contrast where the head and body meet. And that would be right about here. Okay. So deportment and stance. So the stance should stand erect at roughly a 70-degree angle for the horizontal, showing a confident and alert attitude, okay? The bird must be calm in the show cage and not prone to night frights. And anybody who's had cockatiels knows all about them night frights or panic, allowing the judge to examine it closely without excessive flinching. Going back to that one picture where the judge was leaning in and that cockatiel had a stance and he had one foot up on the cage, he's not going to get the points he needed because his temperament wasn't what the judges were looking for. So here you have a white-faced pearl. Okay, look at the crest on that one. Again, this is one of the contenders. So the wing and tail carriage. So the wing should be slightly held tightly to the body, meeting at the tail without sagging or crossing or drooping. Okay, so people who have, and this is for any species that they're judging. You're going to go in and you're going to look at your bird. And you want to make sure that the wings are meeting like this, okay? Not crossed, not drooping. That's what the judges are looking for. All of my cockatiels, their wings crossed. But, that's what the judges are looking for. The tail should be straight with all flight feathers present. Okay, and this is coming out of the National Cockatiel Society handbook. So they have both novice and advanced sections. Okay, I'm not exactly sure what the novices have to do to get into the show. I don't know if it's somebody like me that can just show up, or if it's a novice that has to be recommended, or I'm not really sure about that. But to get to the advanced sections, again, these are the people that are flying in from all over the world. You have to qualify for this. You can't take yourself out of novice, and the exhibitor moves up to the advanced once he or she has won Best Novice Award, placed 4 or more different birds under 4 different judges. Okay, so you had say your canary, say your parakeet, say your cockatiel, and your lovebird. Okay, 4 different birds. They could be all cockatiels, but I guess they would have to be under, say, the whiteface division or the Latino division, bred and banded by the exhibitor on the top bench. The qualifying show needs to have at least 15 advanced birds. So 15 birds that have already won have to be there in order for you to be moved up and into their show. So to the cages, we're going to see different types of cages for different types of birds. But again, this is National Cockatiel Society. They even give you the color cage the color paint you have to paint your cage. They want everything exactly the same so they can judge the bird, not everything around it. Okay, so while some of the lighting may make the paint colors look a little bit different, and that paint color looks a little bit washed out, it's due to, pictures and lighting, and, incandescent is much different than, natural lighting. So, all the cages have to be the same. So your canary cages have to be one, cockatiel cages have to be another, and so on. So the divisions, they have the novice and advanced. Okay, look at that cockatiel. Obviously, first in section, that's probably for your pearl. And so they have 7 sections for the novice and 7 sections for advanced. So we're having 14 different judgings going on. Okay, and then they all go into the grand champion, which is section 15. All right, so that's where, when I was looking at the cockatiels, they were already over, because there was different ones there. They already had to be over towards the grand champion side, I would suspect, because you had your normal gray, you had your white faces, you had your pearls, and then so they had to be in the grand champion by the time I was able to get over there. If you want to find out more about it, you can go to the National Cockatiel Society page there, and it'll give you the entire handbook for what they're looking for cockatiels. And I'm sure the other species all have that as well. So, okay, so you're looking, we know what the normals look like, the Latinos, the pearls. When you go, you can see the white face and the rares. But I want to show you how detailed this gets. So we're going to dive into section 6 of a white face. Everybody knows what a white face is. They just are missing that yellow, the orange patch on their cheek. They have a white head, gray body. Okay, but wait, look at all that section 6 to the left of your screen. Look at all those different type of white face cockatiels there are. Okay, so you have to know the mutation class that you're going into. So it's not just, here's my white face, go ahead. We need to know what it is. So there's a white face pearl in the middle. I don't know if it's a baby. I don't know if it's an adult. I don't know if it's a white face cinnamon pearl split, or if it's a heavy white face cinnamon pied. I'm not sure. But that's, I believe I counted it was either 17 or 19 maybe. They're different white face class mutations. So, and then on the right side of the screen it tells you exactly how they decide to put them in which category. So I don't remember if this was the end of it. This might have been the next day or the end of the day. I went over and my boy's not there. And so I didn't know what was happening. And the same gentleman came over and he says, "Are you looking for him?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Oh, he's been moved." So, which was good because that means he advanced. Okay, so there's my guy. You would think it was my bird, right? So this is the guy I was pretty much following. This is just a cute little thing that I found. The AFA shared this yesterday, actually. So it's just a cute little thing with cockatiels and aviculture, since I was kind of focusing on them to explain what the judges were looking for. So this is the second day. I was so happy I got to wear all my cockatiel stuff. Set up. It was a very early morning. I think the first day I had to be there at 8. I think the second day I had to be there at 7:30. Anybody who knows me knows that I'm usually getting to bed around those times. But that's the second day. And I got to meet more of our webinar viewers. And while I don't remember everybody's names, and I apologize, I was always good for remembering people's birds' names. Okay, when they would come in my store, I would know right away. Okay, that's the bird name. And that's how I would address them. How's Paco, or that's how I knew them. So always been bad with names. But they would come over, and I was talking to the lady in purple the day before and this day, and she didn't realize. She didn't read my name tag until the second day. So that's why she was real happy, because she's like, "Oh, I've been watching your webinars and I didn't realize that was you." I also got to meet other people from different type of bird clubs and societies, which is great. I dearly miss being among bird people with not having my physical location in New Jersey. Okay, so now we're going to kind of get into canaries a little bit more and show you some of the pictures that I saw or I got there some birds I didn't even know what they were. So this was a good, clear picture. You can see that the canary cages are different, okay? There are over 200 breeds of canary. Well, I didn't know that. I just had the normal common canaries. Canaries are bred for color, song, and form. Okay, you have the crested, like the little beetle guys. You have the ones that look like number 7. Most canaries sold in pet stores are not any other specific breed. They're often called common canaries. I had 2 common canaries. My canaries were finger trained, which was really cool. I believe this is more of a red factor because you usually see more the yellow or the whites. And a lot of this red factor is going to come in with the food that they're fed. That's one of the pictures in the beginning. I was showing you the small soft bill guy with the food. So that probably had to do a lot with the canaries and the colors and so on. Oops. Okay, so here were 2 types of canaries. And again, I couldn't even tell you. I don't think they're feather dusters. I don't know if they're rollers. I don't know. There's 200 different types of canaries. But these guys were really cute. They look like little softballs with big long legs. So you have the side view. And these are the colors you usually see that are in the pet store. Not necessarily this style, but those colors. Then you had these guys. So they had the little fuzzy, and these might be feather dusters with the little beetle hairs. So I always thought they were adorable. I had a yellow one, and she did have the beetle hair. And then that one to the left, that's definitely got to be some sort of feather duster. So that is a canary. And there's more feathers on that bird than there is bird. And then I'm not sure in the second picture with the 2 of them, I'm not sure if that white one's a number 7 with the posture, why I took it. It may have been. I know that's not the correct name, but I see them and they look like the number 7. Okay, so these guys, also I had to do a double take. These were the biggest canaries I've ever seen in my life. They must have been the inspiration for Angry Bird. They were the size of a softball. And again, there was more feathers on these guys. And of course, just the facial expressions are looking at you like, don't bother me. You can see their cages there. They have green in them. So that specific type of canary was supposed to be in that cage with that color. So each division and each species is going to be different, even though they're all canaries, different cages. And then you had your little red factors and one with the beetle hair in the middle. I'm not sure the one all the way to the right, if that was some kind of pied. I'm not sure. But again, this division, look, the back of the cages, they're white. Okay, all black bars, all white, white perches, very strict. The judges need to see the birds, not what's around them. So while this was all going on, they actually had back at the hotel, they had another canary show going on. And of course, I was never able to get there because by the time I got back to the hotel at night, they were already closed up in that room. But they had to have the song canary competition back at the hotel because that room had to be quiet and it had to be dark, darker than saying where we were with these thousands of birds. So this way the judges can also judge the birds on their song. So I thought that was pretty cool. I would have loved to have seen that. Okay, so back to this is some more of the birds. I got a chance. This was probably beforehand. There is some judging go on. If you look over here, you're going to see a guy sitting down in front of some cages and some people grouped around it. The next group over here with my pointer, they look like they're going to start. Okay. Here you have a whole bunch of canaries up on the platform with the ribbons on. So I figured, okay, I'm going to go in there. It's a good time. Nothing much is going on. It's quiet. I can get in there quick to take some pictures. And little did I know at a show when they are judging, like this gentleman over here, nobody's allowed on the floor. And here I am walking through all the tables trying to take as many pictures as I could. And I had somebody come over to me and tell me that I had to leave because I wasn't supposed to be there. And I said, I don't understand. You know, I'm at a table over there. And they said, yes, you're at a table, but they're judging. The judges can't have anything in the background moving. So I was causing distractions by walking around. I learned, you know, I was 57 years old when I learned that. So no one's supposed to be back there. So anybody you see that is back here were showing, and they were probably watering or feeding or, you know, cleaning poop off of something before going into judging. So again, here you can see some of the boxes. Every single box you see there, that's both sides of the room. That's how many birds were there. And the vendors were up on the top. I guess they were on the other side. This looks like the show area where they had to come down. Oop, oop, oop. Okay, so now we have getting into some budgies, okay? I don't know if I've seen the beetle hairdo on a budgie. This may also be a feather duster. I believe both of these are probably going to be babies because of the color of their cere. I thought that green one was absolutely stunning, but they are bred to look like that. And that's what the judges are looking for. That's how they score their points. This one, you know, I don't know if they're looking for longer feathers or if they're looking for more shorter feathers. I don't know, but that's a particular breed the judges are looking for. And then we know we have a starling on the right, but I have no idea what that blue thing is on the left. He was extremely vibrant blue. I don't know if, you know, if it was a mutation of some sort of starling. I don't know. These types of birds were all in a certain section. And I'm not going to say that's a soft bill because it looks shorter than anything I've seen. So I don't know if it's an outdoor bird. I have no idea, but it was gorgeous. Oops. Same thing with the green bird. I mean, the colors on him were amazing. Okay. But again, I don't know what he is. He's got a breeder band on, but I don't know what it what it was that they were doing. And here's your little Christmas finch again. He was extremely bright green as well, so he was really cute, and I've never seen that in person. All right, we got the Gullion on the left, the Lady Gullion, and then we have some sort of finch on the left. Yeah, on the right we got the Gullion, and left I have some kind of finch, and he was that muddy brown with that bright purple face. I'm not sure. Again, ooh, again, here are some more. So it was just amazing to see the different types of birds that are out there. I would suspect maybe that's some sort of finch going on with the green mask and the turquoise, but these birds are bred to look like that, and that's what they're being judged on. And again, I just noticed that this one had the one down in the corner, the left hand corner, that had to probably be a different judging than the other two, because the other two have white backgrounds and black cages. That's got the silver. So I don't know if that was, a different group he was in. I was just taking pictures before I was told I wasn't supposed to be there. And then these are some more of the birds that were there. You have your lories. I'm not sure if that's a grass parakeet. While I know some of my birds, I certainly do not know everyone that's out there. So some of these were advancing. And again, they were probably just getting ready to go into their judging or coming out of it, because they were face out, where the ones down here on the bottom, they're all kind of closed in, so nobody disturbs them. Ooh, this mouse is touchy. It's going on its own. Okay. So here we are, some of the lovebirds. Now, we all know how many different type of lovebirds there are out there. It's hard to see two that really look alike. So if you can imagine the cockatiels and all the different mutations and coloring and what they're bred for, I can only imagine the detail that goes in and what the judges are looking for, besides the feather quality, besides the temperament, all the mutations and unbelievable. So here are some of your winners as they're going along. Here are some of your canaries. Again, hundreds and hundreds of canaries. So I walked around to get some pictures. It looks like the little white one, the little feather duster, advanced right there. Here looks more like a number 7. Here's a feather duster. So these are, and here are all your red factor down here. So again, in their own divisions, what the judges are looking for. And when a bird finally gets through all the different rounds and the different judging, this is where they are put. And they have their little awards right there. Those are crystal bowls, and they have the information from the show and what division that they're in. So these were the 2025 winners. And the reason I put this in here was because it showed who the judges were, okay, and where they came from. We have Belgium, Australia, Ireland, Italy, Spain, the USA, Belgium, Puerto Rico, the Netherlands. So we had judges come in for all over, and I could tell you there was a lot of people that were not speaking English. So I don't think they were here. It was a little hard to communicate with some of the people. We did a lot of hand gestures. We got done what we needed to do, and I met a very sweet little lady that didn't speak an ounce of English, and I didn't speak an ounce of Spanish. But we did what we had to do, and it was fantastic. But again, all these people are coming from all over the world for the show and bringing the birds. So this was a close-up of the award that they get. Of course, they get all kinds of accolades for it, and there's a big banquet. But I could tell you that I still have it because my boy took first in show, best in show for cockatiels. So Actually, the person that I was talking to all along, which I did not know, it was the cockatiel's owner. I thought he was a judge, and he wasn't. He was just staying around his bird and keeping the bird calm. And so once I found that out, I felt like a fool, because I'm like, yeah, he's going to take best in show. So of course the owner's just smiling with, with the hopes. He took best in show, not that bird, a different bird took best in show last year for the same owner as well. So I was so happy. That was like one of my highlights. I still had it. I got to pick the best in show. I was very proud of myself. I asked the owner, and I'm friends with the owner now on Facebook, so I can keep an eye on this little bird. I asked the owner the bird's name, so I can address the bird and go up and talk to him. And he had explained to me that his birds usually don't get a name until they win. Okay, so again, these are younger birds. It's not like this is a 15-year-old bird with no name. This is a younger bird, and because we were in Knoxville, this little guy's name is now Knox. So he's a champion. And when they were leaving, they came over to say goodbye to me, and I got to go up and talk to Knox and tell him what a gorgeous little boy he was, and I was proud of him. So I had only really been to, with my own birds, this was my African gray that was in a show. Actually, that picture is taken at a show. This was my Timna Otis, my first one, unknown age. He was probably in late teens, 20s there. He was a wild caught import. And this was the only show that I was ever in. I took my double yellow, my orange wing, my African gray. And I could tell you that Otis did take first place for the show. I still have that award somewhere. I've moved so many times since, but I know it was very special to me. Otis is long gone from complications and kidney issues with aspergillosis. He fought aspergillosis, won, but in the end, his kidneys took him. But I still have that ribbon. So this is the only bird that I came home with. This way, my husband couldn't say anything. So these were little 3D printed grays that one of the vendors was selling. So this way I'll be allowed to go and play a little bit more future. So these are some of the shows that I may be at this year, whether I'm just attending and learning, whether I'm speaking. I put a couple different abstracts in. They have a lot of people that submit abstracts, and they're going to go with what they feel goes with the best theme for their conference. So while I know some of them I'm not going to get accepted, I put my abstract in anyway. So these are some of them that I might be at. If I'm there, I would love you to come find me, whether I'm sitting in the audience or whether I'm up there at a podium or if I'm there at a booth. Come find me. I'd love to meet you. And that's it. So thank you for being here. Let me stop sharing and see if I can see anything.
Thank you, Lisa.
Oh, you're welcome. That's just an extra thing I had to say. Click to exit.
Oh yeah, I think your screen share is done.
Wait a minute. Cancel. Okay, is it gone?
Yep, I think on my end it is. Okay, let's see. I mean, okay. Maybe we could just if we have time for a couple questions because we're a little bit late in starting. But you showed that wonderful graphic at the end of all some of the shows. And some of those shows travel, so it might not be in your area or neck of the woods the next year, but it might be in the upcoming year. So which ones are usually, I know, which ones travel and which ones are always in the same location?
Okay, Phoenix Landing, Parrot Festival. Hold on. Phoenix Landing, Parrot Festival, and the Seattle Parrot Expo, they're all in the same area. Okay. I believe the AFA is going to be settling into St. Louis for a few years. The AAV travels. And I don't remember if I had another one up there.
I think as the World Parrot, International Parrot, sorry, the one in Washington. I think that travels.
Yeah, that's Seattle. That's Seattle. That's supposed to be one of the biggest bird shows that are there. They actually reached out and were talking about possibly speaking there. Um, got to figure out some logistics because I am in South Carolina. So got to figure some of that out. But, you should never stop learning. Some of these shows and conferences, there's people that live 5 minutes away and they don't go. And, there's some people that are professionals and they decided to stop learning because they think they know it all. And really, when we stop reaching and learning and searching for knowledge, we fail our birds. So that's why I just love being there, being around bird people. And that's always been my thing since I was a little kid.
Oh, and the birdie bling that you can find at these shows is
Yes, this is one
parallel.
of them.
That's
So
wow.
yeah, so that's
Is
one
that a
of them.
gang cockatoo or a
Um,
right? It's kind of like a
Gala or gang gang? Yeah, gang gang.
yeah. Okay. Wow. Yeah. And the
So
3D printed grays, that was adorable. Yeah.
yes,
And
yeah. What I good.
I'm blown away by the size of the cockatiels you said that are as big as a Timna gray. That's
I,
mind-boggling.
right now, I still can't believe how big they were. Mine looked like runts compared to them. They were easily twice the width of my cockatiels.
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
yeah.
And I remember if I went when I went to the National Cage Bird Show a couple times. I remember the songbird competition was the craziest part of the show for me every time because I guess they would have them in the dark, and then when they would judge them, they would I think the like, and so you would just hear like this like they would isolate the bird and have it you could just hear like this song burst, and that was like a pretty
Right.
different experience but I've ever seen.
Yeah. I wish I could have seen that, but I didn't understand why they kept having flyers up at the hotel. And of course, I'm going into the hotel. I'm going into bed. I'm not walking around trying to figure things out. I had a long day to begin with. So you go in, you go to bed. Next morning, it's like, I got to get there, got to get there. So you're running out again. I'm thinking, why are there so many signs at the hotel when everything's at the convention? And that's when somebody finally told me, why they were there. So,
Oh, that's funny. And if yeah, I mean, if I'm sorry, the National Cage Bird Show in particular, there's usually like a wing of the hotel where all the birds are on that one floor. And so when you get off the elevator on those floors, you just see all the do not disturb signs on every door, and
yep,
you hear all the
yep.
tweets and chirps and stuff. It's really cute, like for that show in
I,
particular.
I was lucky because I didn't hear any birds while I was there. I was told to bring earplugs because it's very noisy. I did bring them, but I never used them because my thought after losing several birds through the years, a quiet a quiet bird is not a good sign. So I was so happy to hear all the squawks and the noises, and it was just like, I'm home.
Yeah, they
So
don't put the regular hotel guests on that floor. It's just all the bird people. It's like really cool.
right.
It's very fun. Wow. Okay. Well, that was amazing. That was do you know what your next one is? I can't remember if what you might be heading off to next.
We're let's see. Oh, Phoenix Landing. I'll be covering Phoenix Landing for you guys. That is the end of May. I got it open right here.
Yeah.
So I got my little Airbnb and I'm excited to go and learn all the medical stuff they share there. And again, if anybody's going to be there, I think Bonnie's going to be there. I talked to her last week. I think she may be on today. So I look forward to meeting her. And actually, Parrot Festival for 2027, another one of our webinar winners for Christmas won.
Oh, that's
So,
right. Yeah.
so we're actually going to meet up there and we're going to room together.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay. Yeah, we'll have to be tuned in, have a recap of that. Okay, that's awesome.
Yep, I see Bonnie. There we go.
Yes.
Yep.
All right. So yeah, if any of you are in these or anyone going to these shows, at least this, please stop by and we'll yeah, we can share pictures on our recaps here. That's amazing.
Yes.
All right.
And
Wow.
if I'm there by myself, I might put you to work a little bit, taking pictures, or
There you
oh,
go.
I was going to tell you really quick. So some of the bling that you give, like the headbands and stuff. So I had the headbands out. I had them on my little stuffed parrots, and I'd had the ladies come over, and they would be like, "Oh, they're so cute," and I'm like, "Would you like one?" So I pull them out, let them pick one, and they'd put them on, and then their husband would start to laugh, and I said, "Well, now there's a problem," and he's like, "Well, what do you mean?" I said, "There's a condition that I give these out, and the condition is if you laugh, now you got to put one on too." So I would give it to the husbands, and they put it on for a second, and then they take it off, and of course everybody was laughing and having a good time. And again, language barrier.
Yeah, yeah.
Sometimes it was tough, but it was great.
Oh, that's okay. That's fun. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you. And we conquered the PowerPoint screen share. That's good. That was we worked past that. Um, no, that worked out perfectly, actually. We did a really good job. Um, and I was going to just announce next Friday, we're going to be on with Pamela Clark, and she's going to talk about create is force-free parrots, and it's creating cooperative veterinary experiences. So kind of tips for lessen the stress, right? When taking your birds to the vet, especially, is can be stressful for birds and
Right.
people. So and maybe the vet sometimes, depending on the bird. So tune in because obviously we do need to take our feathered friends to the vet. So it's something that we should probably make it the easiest for them as we can. So all right, Lisa, thanks again for joining us. It's great to see you in 2026, and we can't wait to see what other webinars you'll be on with us in the Gray Way and your other series. You have two series. You're like there are two series guest here, the Gray Way and then Parrots Past and Present. All right. On that, I'm going to wish everyone a wonderful weekend. Thanks again, Lisa.
Thank you. Thank you for sending me so I can create these things.
There you go. All right, guys. Look at your calendars and see what shows are in your area and book a trip. All right. On that note, everyone have a great weekend. All the best to you and your flock. Stay safe. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.